friends to my kitchen. What am I doing today? I was supposed to do this recipe during Christmas, but it was so much going on, I didn't have a chance. I've made this once, and I have a video ready with this. I'm gonna make Carrilhos, or Portuguese spikes. I've had a few people asking me different questions, so I thought I would make another video. This is a different recipe that what I had. The one I had, it has cinnamon. I'm not putting cinnamon in this one. I think this is more like what the original recipe was. So different people make different recipes, and I'm all for that. So anyway, so that's what I'm gonna do today, and I will leave the recipe in the description in Portuguese and in English. If it's not there, it's because I could not translate it to Portuguese, but most of the time I can do it. So anyway, but it's in the description. I have 1 kilo of all-purpose flour, 1 kilo of yellow cornmeal flour. This is the Portuguese flour. If you cannot find this, buy the flour on the grocery store, the American flour, but you need to blend it until it becomes almost like powder. It's very fine. You can barely take from one to the other. They're very soft. They're not gritty. That's what you want. But if you cannot find this flour, that's what you do. I'm using yellow, but you can use white also. I'm gonna put some lemon extract in this recipe. I have 2 cups of sugar. I have baking powder, baking soda, and salt. I'm gonna put some lemon zest, and then I have 12 eggs and 1 cup of butter. So anyway, so we're gonna do this. I had this in my list for me to do for Christmas, but it was so much going on, I didn't have a chance. I remember not so much my mom making this, but our neighbors, they used to make this. And this is good because it's not very sweet. And it has the cornmeal. It's very delicious. In the afternoon, sometimes. These days I'm not hungry, but once in a while I need something to kind of pick me up, but I don't want to grab something sweet or junk food. So this, if I have one of these with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, I'm good until dinner. So anyway, and this will keep in a tightened container for a while. So I have 1 dozen eggs. These are eggs from my chicken. Some are bigger, some are smaller. I'm gonna roll my sleeves. I wear the wrong top today. I need to get my hands dirty. So now I'm going to beat my eggs. These are eggs from my chickens, so some are bigger and some are smaller than others. I'm gonna add my sugar, and we're gonna beat this. We beat all the eggs with the butter and sugar, then we add the other ingredients. And you're gonna need to use a pastry bag. There is a machine for this. If you have a machine to make churros, you can use to make this, but if you don't, a pastry bag with a tip, a star tip will do. I have 1 cup of butter and 1 tablespoon of crisco, the yellow crisco, but if you can't find the yellow, white will be fine. Those days, I don't know, I don't think they use butter, they use lard. So, anyway. That crisco. So I'm gonna put 1 tablespoon of lemon extract. And then I want lemon zest. Okay? We got lots of lemons right now. A friend that has a lemon tree and tells me always to pick it. And I have tons of lemons, so I've been trying to find ways to use lemon. And that's why it made me think about this recipe. Okay, I'm gonna zest all this lemon and then I'll show you next. Okay, my lemon zest is in here. And all the eggs are combined. I still have some of the Crisco. It won't melt like the butter. So now I'm gonna put my baking powder, baking soda, and salt, and I'm gonna mix the two flours together and make sure all those ingredients are combined. And we're gonna mix this. And then we're gonna let this sit here for about an hour so those flavors can all blend in. Okay, so I have 2 kilos of this. It's gonna give me a lot of Carrilhos spikes. Yeah, it's funny because I even, when I think of this, I always think of our neighbors. They were 2 single ladies, and my dad used to work for those ladies. They were, Cultives was the oldest one, and then Hilda was the other one. They were like family to us because my dad worked for them since he was 12 years old. Okay, so now I'm gonna just incorporate it until the flour is all, there's no side to flour. And you don't want this to be too hard, but then you don't want to be too soft, because we're gonna put this inside of pastry bag, and you wanted this to be able to come out, but you don't want it to be runny. That's why we need to let this sit here, because that flour is gonna absorb all the eggs and the butter, and it will kind of harden a little bit. Because if it's too hard, you can't squeeze through the tip. So I'm going to put a little bit of milk, warm milk, because you don't want to put cold milk in here. It will harden that butter. Okay? And we're just going to mix it, and then we'll see if it's soft enough to be able to come out of a piping bag. I put here less than 1/4 of a cup, maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons of milk, and I haven't even used everything. This is all depends the flours, so you might not need to add milk. And then I weigh my flours so that I would get a more accurate measurement. Because sometimes if we use cups, it's different. I'm gonna let this here for about an hour. I'm gonna get all my pans and everything situated. Then I'll show you when I'm ready to start shaping them. Friends, it comes the time to shape my spikes, and I'm having a hard time. I've done this before and I didn't have this hard of a time. I put a little bit more milk, and I think the reason that the dough stayed a little bit harder because my eggs, they're not the same size. So if you're using the same size eggs, you won't probably have this problem. But because some are smaller, some are medium, some are large, you'll have this problem. Also, I was using plastic. I buy a big, large quantity of plastic bags, like for cake decorating and stuff, and they kept breaking. I had a bigger one than this, it broke. So I have a machine that I use, didn't work. So I'm doing with this small one. And I just keep twisting, and it seems to be working, but it's gonna take me a long time because this is a small bag. But anyway, so take in consideration, if you decide this, to invest on or a churro machine or one of these heavy duty bags, pastry bags, with a tip, with a star tip. I'll have to see what star tip is this. So anyway, this star tip does not make the spikes like the Portuguese ones. The spikes that I know that some people have commented and say it doesn't have enough spikes. No, of course not, because this is a different machine, a different way of shaping it. So it won't be the same like the ones made in Portugal, because they're different. And then what I do is I shape it into a log and then put it in here. And then I close it and I twist it real hard. And you just keep twisting as it comes out. That way you're not putting too much pressure on your hand. You just keep twisting. And then you make them however size you want. Okay? So I'm going to shape all these, and then I'll show you. I have my oven ready at 350, ready to bake these. I end up putting about half a cup of milk on these, but it's because the eggs. I didn't think about it. I get so used to just having eggs at home that sometimes I forget that our eggs are different size. So anyway, I'll make all these and then I'll show you at the end. Here we go, friends. My first one's going in the oven. Okay, friends, I'm in my last Carrilhos. This was a chore today. I've never had to do this much work. So if you have to you invest in a bag like that if you don't have the proper equipment. I'm doing this and I'm twisting the bag and let the gravity do its job. So you don't have to squeeze too much on your hand. And it takes time, patience. And I'm not one more for much patience. I want it done and over with. So this is my last ones. I baked, I have one pan in the oven. And that's it. My carrilhos are done. I never had the problem like this before. But maybe the other time I used to have more bags like this. But anyway, we do what we gotta do. So, I'll push this last one through. And by holding like this, the gravity will push it down. I left it in the oven for about 20 minutes or until they're golden. And then I'm gonna lower the oven because they need to stay crispy. I'm gonna lower the oven maybe for 200 and leave them in there for a little bit. I'll show you when it's all done. It is my spikes, friend. These are called Portuguese spikes, we known as Carrilhos. Ours in Azores, they have more spikes. Being that I cannot find the machine to do this around here, I use a pastry bag with a tip. The tip that I use, it's 824, but it doesn't do the spikes like ours did. Also, I think ours had more of these little wells, but I think because these, I had to make them a little softer, so it didn't do as much wells. But they taste delicious. They're not very sweet. This is something good to have with a cup of coffee in the afternoon, or even if you want to dip this in chocolate. There's many ways you can do. This is 1,000 grams of corn flour, 1,000 grams of all-purpose flour. I will leave the recipe in Portuguese and in English under the subscription. Eu fiz os nossos carrilhos como a gente fazia antigamente. Estes não parecem iguais como os nossos porque não tem a máquina para fazer isto. Eu uso dessas coisas que é para fazer cakes e por isso não ficam os picos como fazia. Alguns sabem, são conhecidos pelos picos de Portugal. Eu conheço é por Carrilhos. Foi o que fiz e foi o que usei. Eu vou deixar a receita na descrição se quiserem fazer em português e em inglês. Eu espero que façam isso e deixem nos comentários se alguma vez comerem isto e o que é que pensam. So anyway, let me know in a comment if you ever made these and what did you think of them. So this is what's going to be for me today. I'm going to share this with some friends and then I'm going to put some away so when I want something sweet, I have it. Until next time, have a good day. Let's get cooking.